So I'm going to start with just a little bit of like recap, I guess, and then we're going to get into what breathwork is. So yesterday we talked about what is body mapping, why would you use it. Body mapping is a modality that I created that is based in anatomy and physiology, body language, psychology, and energy practices. And the key reasons why you would use body mapping are to change your relationship with your body, to understand and start listening to the language of your body through symptoms, through messages, and understanding what those mean. And thirdly, because your body is how you connect to spirit, to source. And so the better relationship you have with your body, the easier it is for you to understand and to connect to your spiritual gifts. I'm going to close my window because my neighbor just pulled out their lawnmower. Hold on. And I don't want to listen to that. So we will just shut the window. Okay, so today, Michelle, tag me tomorrow. Sandra. Okay, perfect. I will make a list. So if you want to be tagged tomorrow for the breath session, just tell me in the comments and I will make sure to tag you. So yay, and now I know comments are working. So thank you for commenting. Okay, so today we're going to get into breath work. And the thing with breath work is that a lot of people have heard of breath work, and they assume that all breath work was created equal. And that is not the case. So there are many types of breath work. So some of the different types of breath work would be Wim Hof is probably one of the most well known as far as a name. There is somatic breath work. There is meditative breath work. And it's interesting because the more that I've studied different modalities of breath work, everyone has a different definition of what meditative breath work is. So we'll get into that a little bit. There is tantric breath work. There's pause breath work. There's holotropic breath work. There's an entire breath pattern and modality of breath work that's kind of a rebirthing process. And so to have someone say, I know breath work, is also like saying, I'm a doctor. Meaning, what kind of doctor? Are you a pediatrician? Are you an eye doctor? Are you an OBGYN? Are you a surgeon? So just to say, I do breath work is a very broad range of breath work. So when someone is talking about breath work, I invite you to ask them what type of breath work they do. What is the purpose behind their breath work? Because the breath work that I do when I'm doing with Tantra breath work is all about connection to your body and very specifically to your pleasure center. It's all about connecting to your sacral. And so those breath patterns could be the exact same breath patterns as, say, used in holotropic, and they would have very different intentions. So you would do the breath pattern in a very different way. So don't confuse breath patterns with breath modalities. So that's the first distinction that I want to teach you guys, is that you can learn so a really common one that psychologists use is the box breath. In for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4, and you create that pattern. And the purpose of this is to regulate your nervous system, to get you out of the parasympathetic into a state of peace and calm, out of fight, flight, or freeze into the parasympathetic and get you into just a place of homeostasis. Where with tantric, we want to activate your entire body. We also want to activate arousal and different senses like that. So whether you're using the box breath in one of those, well, you wouldn't even use the box breath in Tantra. So in Tantra, you would use, it's called the breath of fire, where you breathe in and out of your nose quickly because that warms the body. So there's breath modalities and there's breath patterns. And there's really only about 5 main patterns in breath work. Some modalities call them something different, but you essentially breathe the same thing. Some of the most common would be the halo active breath. And this is used a lot in yoga. This is used a lot in meditation. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. So that would be a passive halo breath. And in an active halo breath, there's no pause. As soon as you are finished breathing in, you immediately breathe out. Okay, so those are breath patterns. Bliss breath, in and out through the nose. Blow. Those are patterns. And the modalities have all taken these patterns and utilized them for very different things. So I am actually certified in multiple different breath modalities. And as I learned breath work, one of the biggest things that I learned was that you can heal yourself through breath. And I know that that's a very bold statement, and I might get pushback on it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Because breath work is something that you have control over at any time. You can have active breath or you can have passive breath. And breath was given to us. That is the gift of life, is breath. And when you are able to control your breath, when you can manage your breathing, you can manage your emotional state. And this is why I say that breath work is self-healing. So why would you use breath work? Breath work is usually used to reduce stress or improve pleasure. It can also improve mental clarity. Think about when you meditate and they want to get you into a place, they say breathe in, breathe out, and they want you to get into a place of peace and calm so that all of the chatter in your head goes away. It improves your performance. So for people who are runners, you guys are doing breath work whether you recognize you're doing breath work or not. So performance can change. Increase integration. So yesterday we talked a little bit about mindset, and one of the things I said about mindset is that as beautiful as your declarations are, if your nervous system is dysregulated, all of that personal development work you did in the front of your brain isn't accessed. And breath work allows you to get from the back of your brain, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, to the front of your brain, declarations, tapping, anxiety, aids, all of those things that you have been taught by professionals to help you cope with life. And so the fact that breath work, just breathing, can help to change you from lizard brain to higher brain is one of the reasons why I love breath work. Breath work is actually one of the largest growing holistic modalities in both the scientific realm and the metaphysical realm, because it has a lot of science base behind it, but a lot of people use it for emotional release, which is another one. So as you think about different breath patterns, a lot of the breath patterns that are used for integration versus activation mimic normal breathing. And this is why it's such a powerful modality, because instead of taking your passive breath, I'm just sitting here breathing in and out, I'm going to move it to an active breath and then pair it with movement or pair it with a thought or a mantra. And all of a sudden my body, my brain, and my spirit at the same time are coming into alignment, and I now have full integration instead of partial integration. And when I started teaching and learning breath work, it was because people would have things with body mapping and we would discover things, and we could very quickly integrate what they discovered through a simple breath pattern and technique. So the bigger part of breath work that I wanted to talk about, and I'm tomorrow, for those of you that will be here for the breath work, I will go over this again tomorrow just to make sure that everyone hears it. But one of the biggest difference in the breath work that I was taught and I now teach is that it is a trauma-informed system. So the body mapping mentors and the breathwork practitioners that I train all become trauma-informed. And this is why, without diminishing what other mentors do, because I don't want to do that, I just want to explain this. When people focus on getting people into a highly activated state so that they can have a breakthrough, Sometimes they don't have a breakthrough, they have a breakdown, but that sensationalism on stage is very powerful. The problem is when you have a breakdown in the middle of a breakthrough, integration does not occur. And so this is why you can have people that in the moment when they're full of adrenaline and cortisol and they're that fight, flight, or freeze, I'm so pumped up, I'm so excited, I can walk across fire. And 2 days later, when my nervous system is back to regulated, I don't actually remember why I walked across fire. It didn't actually reprogram anything in my head. Is there a time and a place for those breakthrough things? Absolutely. The problem is you have a lot of people who have never been trauma informed who are using those really big breakthrough methods, and they are re-traumatizing their clients. So for me, one of the main reasons why I use a trauma-informed approach is because re-traumatization is rampant within the personal development industry. How many of you have ever witnessed this or had this happen to you where we're going to do this cold plunge. I actually saw a video of a woman who was doing a cold plunge, and all of a sudden it was so traumatic to her system because all of a sudden she was having flashback memories of an abuse situation that she was in as a small child. And so she was instantly in re-traumatization, and the facilitators didn't know how to help her through that. So I don't just teach breath work, but it needs to be trauma-informed breath work. So what is trauma? I know that sounds like a weird question, but what is trauma? The most common, and I'm going to read it because I got it right out of the my psychology book. Individual trauma results from an event, series of events, or set of circumstances that is experienced by an individual as physical or emotional harm or life-threatening, and that has lasting adverse effects on the individual's functioning and mental, physical, social, emotional, and spiritual well-being. In other words, something happened to you that shifted the life path you were on, meaning you were doing good and all of a sudden something shifted you, and for the age level and emotional intelligence level that you were at, it altered the way you viewed the world. And I give it those prerequisites because the second thing about trauma that a lot of people dismiss is that there is no scale when it comes to trauma. Because trauma alters the way that your brain perceives the world, and based on your age, emotional intelligence and actual intelligence views whether or not you see something as trauma or traumatic. And so there's no scale of this is more or less traumatic. And when people in their head have a scale of what trauma is, they can devalidate someone's trauma. And when you go into a breath session or really any type of healing modality, if you are not trauma informed, you can re-traumatize them. So being trauma informed is a big part of breath work, because the point of breath work is to activate an emotional response. So how many of you have ever heard the word triggered? It is such a buzzword right now, and I have to breathe through it. Being triggered is actually a clinical term. It means that someone has just gone into PTSD. The way it's used is someone says, oh, I'm having an emotional response right now, and I'm not used to having an emotional response, so you triggered me. But they're not actually in a trauma state. They're just having an emotional response. So on a little side note, if we can all stop saying I was triggered if you're not actually in trauma and in PTSD, and you can just start recognizing I'm in a highly activated emotional state right now. Because one of the reasons this matters is that when you have shut down your emotions, you haven't just shut down and numbed your emotions, you've actually disconnected from your body and you've disconnected from your spirit. And then you do all sorts of things to seek out and try to find and be whole and complete. But that feeling of whole and complete won't happen if you are continuing to feel like I'm disconnected from my spirit, I'm disconnected from my body. And those emotional activations are how you heal. Have you heard the phrase, in order to heal, you have to feel? Feeling is talking about not just thinking about an emotional state, but actually feeling the emotional state. And breath work is one of the processes that allows you to have sensation brought back into your body. So how does it do it? If you can think of your brain as kind of a sentinel or a gatekeeper, and it has a door that it closes, and it went, that means possible death if you ever experience that uncomfortable emotion again. So your brain will keep that door locked, and your body, which is a storage device, will still have that sensation trapped in its body, and it is getting signals that says that sensation is bad, it's wrong, that could kill us, never feel that again, never feel that actual sensation. So a lot of times when people get into personal development and they have a spiritual awakening, they are on what I call the first level of emotional progression. They come out of numbing and they're now in a place of knowing. But when you think of knowing, that's not a heart thing. That's not a body thing. Knowing is very much a head thing. So this is when people start to be able to analyze and list their emotions. And they may even change their wording a little bit. So instead of saying, I'm depressed, they may start saying, I'm in depression right now. I'm in anxiety right now. So they'll start to differentiate that they are not their emotions, but they sense and feel their emotions. And that's really where a lot of people stop in their emotional progression. And they stay very much in their head. I know I'm sad right now. I know I'm angry. I know I'm frustrated. They can label the emotion, which I don't want to diminish that. That's a huge deal. Do you know how many people right now cannot label their emotions? And so if you can get to the point that you're like, I can actually label my emotions, this is where a lot of personal development people kind of get stuck. The next place from knowing, or you go from numbing to knowing, from knowing to observing. And observing is when you can say, I am feeling sadness, and this is what it feels like in my body. I can actually observe that my body is having a visceral response. I just got colder. My body feels heavier. I have tension. There's pressure behind my eyes. I am feeling in my body the sensation of sadness, of anger, of frustration, of glee, of joy, of happiness. So it comes out of your head and actually becomes part of your body. You become aware and you observe the sensations that are happening in your body. This is sometimes when your brain will have a little bit of a freak out, because it's like, hey, last time you felt that we almost died, which is not accurate. For not all instances is that accurate. For embarrassment, for example, we've all felt embarrassment. And your brain goes, if we ever feel that again, we will die. And so your brain will create defense mechanisms, and you will either hide in embarrassment or you will turn it into a joke. But there are things that we do that your brain will say, I don't want to feel that in my body, because if I feel that again, I don't feel safe. So in order to heal, you need to learn to feel. And feeling does not happen in the head. Feeling happens in the body, which is why yesterday I talked so much about body mapping. Breath work helps to distract your brain's gatekeeper so that you can feel the sensation and be reminded it's safe to feel that sensation. You can have an activated emotional response without an activated cortisol, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response. I hope this is making sense. Let me know what you are getting from this in the chat. Because you know when you teach something, a lot of times you think that you're teaching it on a really basic level and people are like, what? So let me know if this is making sense to you. So one of the reasons why I choose breathwork is because breathwork bypasses the gatekeepers in your brain that tell you it's not safe to feel anything. And it allows your body to feel sensation so that it can release. We breathe so we can find and release. Once you do this enough, your brain will start to trust that your body is stronger than it thought it was. And it will actually allow you to feel more often. And so for a lot of people, when they're in personal development and they come to this emotional knowing, but they're not yet in an emotional observing place, they tend to feel like, well, now that I'm aware of my emotions, I should be able to control my emotions more. And that's not accurate. If you're truly doing personal development and you're wanting to feel and you're wanting to heal, the more you feel, the more you will feel. That's why I tell my clients, you want to live tuned in and turned on, tuned into your body, tuned into your sensations, tuned into your inspiration, to your inner guidance, to source and to God. And you want to turn that on so you can actually feel the sensations. And those are what help guide you. So the trauma-informed part mixed with the breathwork part go together beautifully because we all have trauma. Period. When your brain doesn't trust that it can live through it, it will hide it. And breathwork allows you to feel safe enough to heal and feel. And that is why I love breathwork. So you have breath modalities like Wim Hof, holotropic, pause, tantra, somatic. There's dozens of them. And then you have breath patterns. And the breath patterns are where the training is really important because a facilitator needs to know which breath patterns do what for their clients. Because there are some breath patterns that will very quickly activate you. And your body, because of the breath pattern, will immediately, I shouldn't say immediately, will very quickly start to find your biggest trauma responses. There are other breath patterns that are used to help increase pleasure, peace, calm. And if you don't know which pattern to use when, that's when people have a negative experience with breathwork. For the people who have had a trauma-informed experience where they have choice, where they have guidance, breathwork can be a self-healing modality. It can be a tool that you use on a constant and ongoing basis to help you regulate your nervous system, to help all of those personal development techniques that you've been learning, your vision board, because here's the thing, when you look at your vision board, if the things on your vision board put you into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and you're so disconnected from your body that you don't realize your vision board is giving you anxiety, it's one of the reasons you're not getting the things off your vision board that you want to, because your brain is like, oh my gosh, every time we look at those pictures, we feel like we are going to die. We have so much pressure for that. Versus I'm going to do some breath work while I look at those pictures. I'm going to get my body into a state of calm, of peace, of relaxation, of joy, of ease. And now when your body sees those things, it doesn't run from it. It will allow you to have the ideas, the thoughts, the inspired action to take. A lot of self-sabotage has to do with your nervous system feeling unsafe to feel. You cannot manifest without feeling what it is you want in your life. So the number you are, the harder it is for you to create miracles in your life. And the more emotionally intelligent and in tune you are, the easier it is for you to create in your life. And that is a really beautiful thing, because when you can tap into your emotional state and you can feel and you can sense, your spirit is connected to source, the knowledge of all things. But it speaks through your body. For those of you that have followed me a long time, you've heard me say this before. If you can shut a woman down sexually, you can shut her off from God and inspiration. If you can shut a man down emotionally, you can shut him off from God and inspiration. And the reason is your emotional sensations happen in your body. And so for men, if they are not using their gut instincts and their inspiration to lead and guide and protect, it's because they're emotionally numb. And this is why I want people to understand how healing it is to reconnect with your body. This isn't just self-love. This isn't just, okay, even though I'm overweight, I can love my body. That is a beautiful thing, and I don't say that to mock it. But do you realize what an amazing gift your body is? And that just through your breath, you can shift and change your entire world. There is no awe or reason why more of us can't live calmer, more peaceful, more abundant, prosperous lives. But if one of the things we're doing is holding our breath, that prevents us from feeling. And what it actually does is tells the brain to brace for pain. So there's a couple actual usable tips that I want to give you with this breath work, and that you can start to use on an ongoing daily basis. Let's see, being in tune after a really long period of time of being numb can be so uncomfortable at first. Exactly. That's been my experience. And the reason being is because your body is actually not uncomfortable with it. Your body is like, ooh, sensation. But this is how I usually explain it to people. Have you ever been sitting in a particular position? Maybe you're doing something with your kids and you're sitting on the floor, you're curled up on the couch, and all of a sudden you need to do something. So you stand up and you realize one of your appendages has fallen asleep. And as circulation and blood flow start, all of your nerve endings come back online at the same time. And it's that pins and needles sensation. And sometimes when you have not been taught trauma-informed practices to get your emotional sensations back online, the first thing that comes back online is your pain sensation. And it's that pins and needles, but emotional pins and needles, I guess is how I would explain it. And it could be things like, all of a sudden I'm seeing the unseen and I wasn't expecting that. Or all of a sudden I am getting mass amounts of information and downloads that I'm processing and actions that I need to take, and it overwhelms me because I didn't realize that they've always been floating around me, and you haven't titrated. So titration, and I wasn't going to go this deep, but I feel like there are some people on here that need this. Titration is a clinical term, and it basically means you got used to it. So emotional titration is a real thing, and it's one of the things that a lot of personal development coaches fail to adequately give their clients. So think about the last time you were driving in your car, and right before you parked your car, a really great song came on. So you crank up the radio and you're singing and you hear the music and it's your favorite song, and your kids are so grateful the windows are up because they're embarrassed because you're singing so loud, and the song ends and you turn off your car and you go grocery shopping. And it was Costco. So you were there for like a solid hour. So you come back out and you unload all your groceries and you get in your car and you turn on your car and your radio is still full blast, and so is that song. And you had forgotten what that sounded like. And you didn't consciously turn up the volume, so you weren't ready for that amount of sound. And it shocks you. We can do this emotionally. And when we do this emotionally to ourselves or to our clients, to our spouses, their only physiological response is dysregulation. Imagine, I had brothers and sisters, and we always thought it was funny to jump out and scare each other. And so if you emotionally get jumped out at, it takes a minute for your body to recover. And titration is why trauma-informed breathwork, trauma-informed personal development is important. It's like when you jump into a pool of water and it's colder than you were expecting, and it takes your breath away. When you do that to people emotionally, they don't trust you. They just toss you in the ice water. Exactly. And tell you to breathe. Oh, okay. And I was just thinking of the pool. Like my neighbors the other day, I live in St. George, and so we're already in the 70s and 80s here. And my kids wanted to go swimming, and I kept telling them the water's too cold. You don't want to go yet. They jumped in my neighbor's pool and almost immediately jumped right back out. And they were all having a hard time breathing. They did not titrate. They did not get used to the temperature of the pool. And had they allowed themselves to dip their toes in, get used to the temperature, they could have played in it for a long time, but instead they just deep dove and expected this miraculous sensational change to happen. And it didn't. What happened was a dysregulated nervous system. So there's a difference between breath work that regulates your nervous system and allows the trauma to gently come up and out versus firewalks and arrow breaks and embarrassment and all of these other tactics that sometimes we use on ourselves, not just other people. And as I've said before, no matter how much work you've done in your prefrontal brain, in your conscious brain, in your cognitive brain, in the brain that you have choice in, when you have an unregulated nervous system, you're not using this, you're using this. And the key to bridging these is emotional sensation. And that emotional sensation is what teaches you, I am safe to feel. Yes, it's like microdosing emotions, exactly. I am safe to feel. And because I'm safe to feel, I am safe to heal. So when we hold our breath, we are telling our body, prepare for pain. I have an older brother, and I'm sure many of you do too. Could be an older sister. And his favorite thing to do was to walk past me and punch me in the arm. So anytime he would walk past me, even before he punched me, I would go, and I would take a deep breath in, and I would brace for pain. And my body, knowing what a does, would start sending cortisol and adrenaline and all the things that it needed to survive pain. So a beautiful, easy tip to help alleviate feelings or experiences of anxiousness, to help you get into a place of peace and calm. When you go to a yoga class, they always say, take a deep breath in, now breathe out. And although that's a very beautiful thing, you're already in a state of peace and calm, usually. And so that deep breath in is very, very helpful. But when you are not already in a state of peace and calm, taking a deep breath in tells your brain to brace for more pain. So when you are in a state of anxiousness, rather than breathe in, breathe out. Then breathe in. Now breathe out. But breathing out first tells your body, we're letting this go. Breathing in says, hold on to this. Brace for this. So this is one of those places where, okay, here's the personal development tool I just told you in your conscious cognitive brain in the front of your head that says, when you're in a state of anxiousness, back of your brain, breathe out first. Breathe in. Breathe out. That's a helpful tool if you're regulated. If you're dysregulated, it will take you a minute to go, what am I supposed to do? I'm breathing really fast. I'm breathing really heavy. I don't know what to do. But when you can sense, because you're tapped into your body and you start to feel the tension and you start to feel the bracing for pain, this is when you can say to yourself, or even say out loud, breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And instead of a passive breath, you have an active breath that takes you from the process of dysregulation, pauses it, and helps you go back to regulated. So breathe out. And even if you find yourself in an activated state, and you can tell, start putting more emphasis on the out. Sound is the next thing I want to invite you to do. When you are trying to change your vibrational state, sound is the fastest, easiest way in your body to change vibration, because that's what sound is. It's literal vibration. So when you are dysregulated, breathing with sound is extremely important. This is why when people are in a state of anxiousness and it's extreme, they start to breathe with sound. Their body is trying to help them regulate. It's literally trying to change its vibration. So I talked about emotional progression. You go from numbing to knowing, that's a head thing. Then you go from recognizing, I feel sad, I think I feel sad, to actually sensation, feeling sad. So you go from numbing to knowing, knowing to observing, that's I'm observing that I'm feeling this way, and then observing to inviting. And that's where breathwork comes in. Breathwork is when you invite your mind, your body, and your spirit to have an experience of purposeful activation. So you can release, so you can integrate, so you can have mental clarity, so you can increase pleasure. It is a purposeful activation. And I say activation, and I don't assume that I'm talking about anxiety or depression. You can activate joy. You can activate peace. You can activate fun. So, because they're all sensations. Oh yes, I feel that. And overwhelm, I feel like I need to whimper. Exactly. Because your body is trying to release a vibration that it knows it's not a match to. That's a little bit of a squirrel. Women who overtalk, it's because they're trying to change their vibration. And so when you are in did you actually know that not being able to stop talking is an anxious response? It's one of the states of an anxiety attack. So if you get into a social situation and you just can't shut up, your body is trying to help you regulate, and it does it through sound. Okay? Side note. Okay. Other things I wanted to talk about with breath work, and then I'm going to get into some tips. With breath work, there are lots of things that can occur in the body that are totally normal and doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it right or wrong or good or bad. It just means your body is changing and shifting. So on a scientific, physiological level, breath work can change the pH of your body. Breath work can alleviate pain. Breath work can reduce cortisol and adrenaline levels. Breath work can increase oxytocin and dopamine. Breath work and serotonin. Breath work has the ability to chemically change you from the inside out. And you have control over the change. That's the beautiful part. It also connects your mind, your body, and your spirit all at the same time, so that integration happens at a whole and complete level instead of just at a mental space. And this is why that matters. If your mind, your body, and your spirit all have integration, when the front of your brain shuts down, your body and your spirit won't have the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn reaction. Let me say that again. When integration has actually occurred, you don't actually need prefrontal cortex, because your brain, your body, and your spirit all have the same programming. So when your brain goes into trauma response, your body and your spirit can say, we're good, we're okay, we're safe. And you have access to the front of your brain, and you can tap. It is safe for me to be here right now. I know that in the past, I've had feelings of anxiousness in this situation, but I also know that right now I feel safe. and you actually feel it in your body. So that's what actual integration is. Memorization is not the same as integration. Yep, I said that, and I'm going to say it again. Memorization is not the same as integration. So integration creates transformation. Memorization doesn't. So body experiences, body work, body set is really important if you truly are into personal development and wanting to heal. And whether you are engaged in in breath work from me or one of my practitioners, you find someone else, you find a modality that works really beautifully for you, awesome. Just find something that you can feel safe to heal. So one of my favorite breath patterns to do, I will do a bliss breath, and then a hold, and then a blow breath. And this is something, especially if I know I'm going to have a really busy day and I might find myself going into old patterns of overdoing or thinking that my worth is dependent on how much I accomplish. A bliss breath warms the body. It prepares the body. And a bliss breath is done in and out through the nose. So I'll do the bliss breath, and then I will do a bottom hold. And a bottom hold is when you breathe out, and then you hold with empty lungs. The interesting part about a bottom hold is different than a top hold, because a bottom hold grounds you, it aligns you, it actually signals your body, hold your breath until our mind, body, and spirit are aligned. And so I have some clients that when they do a bottom hold, it doesn't last very long. And I'm like, well, that's because you were already so close to alignment, you didn't need to hold any longer. And I have other people that I'm like, are you still breathing? Because they're fairly disconnected from themselves, and it's taking them a minute to integrate back into alignment. So a bottom hold grounds you. It gets you really in a stable space. And those bottom holds are what help you realign. And so I'll do a bliss breath to warm up my body, to get everything going. I'll do a bottom hold, and then I go into a blow for release. And the blow breath is what helps you get everything out. So like I said, this is part of me purposefully going into activation. I'm wanting to have the sensation. I'm wanting to have the emotional response. So breath work is also, and so I'll do that. And as I breathe out, I will imagine all of the things, I will visualize all the things that I'm blowing and getting out of my life. The people, the places, the things, the memories, the experiences that I don't want anymore, that are stopping me from having what I have. Oh man, when I did a breath session recently, the bottom hold was so long that she stopped me. Ground first next time, Taylor. And there's nothing wrong with long bottom holds. It's just an indicator of how long it took your energy to find all your parts and pieces and bring them back to where you were. So, but a bottom hold, if you can breathe out and empty those lungs and then hold, this is something that can help remove different anxiousness, depression, pain. One of the reasons why pain lasts in our body so long is because we take a deep breath in and then hold our breath on the in. And the thing is that's a very beautiful breath. When you are in a calm space and someone says, take a deep breath in, fill your lungs, and hold at the top. That breath is specific. It's an expansive breath. It's used to open your energy to more. But when you're in a state of pain, if you take a deep breath in and then you hold your breath and you're expanding, you're actually allowing yourself to feel pain more. This is why when people are saying, stretch, they're asking you, and they say, keep breathing, breathe through the stretch, or you're getting a massage, and they say, keep breathing as they use their They're elbowing your glute and you're like, you are a literal pain in my butt right now. When you breathe in and hold, you're telling your energy to expand and then fill. Well, if you're in a state of pain, it's going to expand and fill with pain. If you're in a state of bliss or joy and you breathe and hold, you're going to expand and create more joy, more peace, more light, more healing. So that is something I'll do in and out through the nose. Then I'll do a bottom hold to ground. I'll do a blow breath to remove and alleviate all the things I need to get rid of. And then I'll do a top hold to expand that place of peace and of calm and of beauty. So tomorrow when we do our live breath session, that will be the pattern. And a couple of things to take into consideration when you do this. One, I'm not always sitting in a meditative space. I could be at the grocery store doing this. I could be driving and doing this. And the beautiful part about trauma-informed breath work is that the number one thing that makes it trauma-informed is that you have choice. The second part of it is time. There's a really cool and odd phenomenon that at the 8-minute mark of sustaining a breath pattern, at exactly 8 minutes, your brain will have let its guard down long enough to allow you to let trauma release. So if you are wanting to activate emotions without processing trauma, you just don't breathe for more than 8 minutes. It can't be that simple, Laurel. Oh, but it is. It really is. When you breathe, or you have your clients breathe, at 7 minutes, 59 seconds, if you stop them, take a deep breath in, breathe out. We're going to end that breath pattern. The gatekeeper was distracted and it let things in and out, but it didn't let the dungeon bust open. At the 8-minute mark, the doors bust open and the trauma comes to the surface. So if you have ever done a breath session and they have you breathe for 45 minutes, you probably hated the experience because there was no titration. They were like, we're going to kick open the door and we're going to bust through your trauma and we're going to integrate. And then you were like, I'm never doing breath work again. That's horrible. I don't want to do that. Where if you allow yourself to get used to breath work through shorter sessions, your body has that moment of titration. And then when you decide to go past that 8-minute mark, you're ready for the trauma to be released. You heard the song, you recognized the song, you loved the song, you purposefully turned up the volume so you could sing your little heart out. And when the song was over, you also purposefully reached over and turned the radio back down so that later on you wouldn't be re-traumatized. Which is the second point why breath work, being trauma-informed, is important. You can't just end breath work and be done. You need to bring people out of it. And so this is why tomorrow's breath session altogether will be about 15 to 20 minutes. Because there will be a gradual in, got to get you used to the water. And then the breathing, the activation part of it. And then I'll bring you back out of it. Have you ever, I went to a sound bath the other day, and I'm sure some of you have been to sound baths before, but they get the lights all good and the temperature and you're all cozy and you listen to all the beautiful music. And if you fell asleep, you missed the titration where they brought you back around, they brought you back to awareness, and all of a sudden you're waking up to the light being turned on. We sometimes will do this to people in meditations and sound baths and breath work. Don't just flip on the light, okay? If you brought them in gently, get them out gently. And that's what we're going to do tomorrow. So tomorrow's format, we will do about a 15-minute meditation slash breath pattern. And the breath pattern will be specific. It will activate emotions without activating trauma, and it'll reconnect you to your body. And as you reconnect to your body is going to have messages for you. And those messages aren't good or bad or right or wrong or better or worse. They're just information that your body is like, you know that thing that you keep asking for? This is what's stopping you, just so you know. So the breath work, we will then go into a question and answer during the live. So if you are watching this and you can't make it live tomorrow, still do the replay breath session for the next 24 hours after I do the live breath session. I will go in and answer questions that you have about the sensations that you felt in your body. So whether you can watch it live or you have to catch the replay, still come and be prepared to tap into your body, to reconnect, to unnumb, and to actually get into a space where you can learn what it actually means. If you want to heal, you have to feel. I'm going to actually get you to a space where you're like, this is what it feels like to heal, to integrate. And this is what it feels like to feel safe to feel and feel safe to heal without bashing on other people in the personal development industry. One of the reasons why what I do has become so important and so sought after, because I have to teach people that it's safe to feel safe again. There's no betrayal that's going to happen here. There's no, I'm going to make you feel safe and now I'm going to sideswipe you with some sensational thing that looks cool on stage. A lot of people have betrayal in the personal development industry because the person will get them into a state of safety and peace and then sideswipe them with sensationalism. So when I say if you want to heal, you have to feel, I also want you to know it is safe to feel safe, and it is safe for you to feel, and it is safe for you to heal. So that's what we're going to do tomorrow. Same time, 1 o'clock. Again, if you catch it on the replay, still please post your questions in the comments tomorrow. What you need for tomorrow, to not be driving. That's about it. So in an ideal situation, you are in a place where you can create safety for yourself, meaning maybe you want the door locked, maybe an eye mask, tell the other people in your house, don't bug me for the next hour. So you get to create a safe space for you because you are worth protecting. And when you feel safe, you will allow yourself to have an emotional response. So what I would recommend when you do the breath work, to be in a place where you feel safe and protected. Not in a bathtub, only because if you get, there are some people that will fall asleep during a breath session, and I don't want you drowned in your bubbles. So no bathtubs, no driving. Other than that, you can sit, you can lay. I do recommend having a blanket with you because one of the, like I said, integration causes transformation. And a lot of times when people are actually doing breath work, they'll have temperature changes in their body, they'll have muscle sensations in their body, coughing. So bring water. If you have an eye mask to help kind of create darkness for you, you also can do breath work with your eyes open. I actually do better just in a soft gaze, staring off into space, because if I close my eyes, then I will have to sit there and say, keep your eyes closed, just keep your eyes closed, it's fine. So I like to use an eye mask, or I like to allow myself to just keep my eyes open. So tomorrow we'll do about 15 minutes of meditation and breath work, and then we will spend the remaining 45 minutes in question and answer. So I hope that this is helpful for you. I really am just sharing this because I want people to have an awareness of their options, what is available to them. I really want to get people to know and understand why trauma-informed facilitators and mentors really should be the new normal and not some amazing off-the-wall, oh, I've never heard of that before. Like, we really do need to be a trauma-informed culture. Not just culture, but industry. That's what I was looking for. coaches, presenters, and mentors need to be a trauma-informed industry. So that is part of why I'm doing this. And I just love to teach it, and I haven't done an in-person class for a while, so you guys get the benefit of it. So I love you. I will see you tomorrow. And if you have questions that have come up in the last couple of days, you can either post them on yesterday's video, today's video, or you can save them for tomorrow. Bye, ladies.